Well said, Kath. Thank you. Λοιπόν, ο επόμενος παρουσιαστής μας. Ο Sandro Forte είναι μέλος του MDRT, μετρήστε, εδώ και 28 χρόνια. Έχει εισάριθμες διακρίσεις top of the table, είναι πρόεδρος του MDRT Foundation για το 2025 και Sir του Royal Legion of Honor. Έχει μιλήσει σε main platform του MDRT και σε δεκάδες χώρες τα τελευταία 23 χρόνια, ενώ έχει βοηθήσει πραγματικά χιλιάδες συμβούλους σε περισσότερες από 90 χώρες να ξεχωρίσουν. Creating a world-class client experience. Ας υποδεχθούμε παρακαλώ τον ένα και μοναδικό Sandro Forte.
I'm here. Kalimera! Thank you for having me back to this beautiful part of the world one more time. I can only assume all the other speakers that were invited were not available, so here I am again. But it is a great honor to be amongst so many wonderful friends at MDRT and of course those who are aspiring to join MDRT. So let's start with a show of hands. Please raise your hand if you are really looking forward to listening to some amazing speakers over the next couple of days. Fantastic. And raise your hand if you're just here for the free food. Okay. Let's do a warm-up. I have the great honor of being your opening speaker today. So let's just do a warm-up before we get started and share some ideas with you that will hopefully help to take your businesses and your lives to another level. So I would like you all, if you would, to repeat after me. Is everyone ready? Repeat after me. I will not fall asleep. I will not check my emails. I will pretend to enjoy Sandro's presentation. Thank you. Okay, let's talk today about creating a world-class client experience. And I use those words very carefully because what I would like to share in the next 45 minutes or so is some ideas that I think will add considerable value to your businesses. Success in this business, in this wonderful profession, is not easy. It's not easy. And let me tell you something, it is not comfortable either. One of the things that I observe when I come to amazing events like this is the really successful people in the room. And the really successful people in the room are those amazing people you see down at the front of this room today, because these are the unsung heroes, the people you have not seen for the last 12 months because they have busy preparing for this event for everyone's benefit today. And I think we need to acknowledge once again just how hard Giannis and all of his team have worked. These are the people who work hard for all of us. It is one of the bases of the success of MDRT, giving, sharing, receiving in equal measure. But you know, the reason why some people stand out, some people are more successful than others, and of course, success is different things to different people, is because those people, those elite performers, have a mindset which is different to everyone else. They go above and beyond. They recognize that success is not comfortable. And I would like to talk about that just for a moment, because I hope it will encourage everyone to continue that process of taking one step followed by another, followed by another. That continuous process of momentum from one place in life to another. But of course we all know, don't we, that the little voice on our shoulder gives us 100 reasons a day why we should not perform, why we should not continue that momentum. I'm going to ask you all for a moment just to think about the top 3 reasons why you were not as successful this year as you would have liked to have been. So the top 3 reasons in your mind, write them down if you want to, tap them into your phone, or just think about them for a moment. Those top 3 reasons why you didn't quite get to where you would like to get to so far this year. And as you reflect on those thoughts, I'm going to offer a challenge to you all. Because with great respect, those 3 reasons are not reasons at all. They are called excuses. That is the reason most of us are not successful, or as successful as we would like to be. The reason we didn't quite make it to core to the table. The reason we didn't quite meet our expectations and goals for the year. They're not reasons. They're not true reasons. COVID was not a reason for a lack of interaction with clients, any more than an economic downturn is a reason not to talk to clients about investments, for example. They are excuses. But the problem with success is that it's not comfortable. And as human beings, we like to be comfortable because we have this mistaken belief. It's called a lie. It's a paradigm, a belief system that has no basis for reality. We prefer to sit in our seat in life with our hand in the air, waiting for the opportunity to come our way. And then, of course, when it doesn't, we have someone to blame. Let's just talk about the pain equation. When I first learned about the process that I needed to go through in order to reach some of the objectives that I sought for myself, things became clearer. And I would like to share with you something that someone taught me 25 years ago. The basis of the pain equation is that in order to grow, we have to change. And if anyone here disagrees with anything I have to say for the next couple of minutes, please let me know. But fundamentally, in order to grow, we have to change. I think everyone would agree with that. We've heard the expression, if you continue to do what you've been doing, you'll continue to get what you've been getting. So fundamentally, we have to move to a different place. But of course, when we change something, we lose something. Generally, we move from one place to another, we leave something behind, and that feels uncomfortable to us because it involves loss. And when we lose something, we feel pain. Would you agree? So here's the problem, that in order to grow, we must feel pain. So if anyone here today is sitting in their seat feeling really comfortable, with great respect, I would suggest you're probably doing it wrong. Because to grow, we must feel discomfort. And here are some basics to life. We have a choice. Every single person here today, I know many of you, but not all, every single person here today is fundamentally brilliant. You have achieved so many incredible things in your lives, but the little voice allows us distance from some of those achievements. Think about some of the things you did when you were a small child. Walking, talking, swimming, riding a bicycle, all those amazing things that you now do subconsciously. Success in this business can be learned exactly as you learned all those other incredible things. You just have to go through the same process. But of course, when you were small, when you were a young child, you weren't dealing with the little voice every single day. But you know, marriage, if you're married, you know marriage is hard. Divorce is hard. You get to choose which one of those 2 hards you deal with. Financial success is hard. It involves discomfort and pain, as we've discussed. But so does financial insecurity. So whatever we choose to do in our lives, I think we have to first accept that involves a degree of discomfort. There are 2 things I would like to share with you today that have helped me and many others. I am by no means successful when I think of the MDRT family. I look at some other advisors and think, wow, one day I would love to do what you're doing. But we all learn so much from each other. So if what I'm about to share just adds some degree of value to what you're already doing, then I will have achieved my objectives today. The first thing I want to talk about, if I may, is something, and it's very important. It is the one area of successful financial planning that many advisors ignore, mainly because they don't know of its importance. And it's called positioning. Now, I go back to the 1980s. I started in this amazing profession when I was 21 years of age, and I remember sitting with my new client for the first time, and there was an unwritten rule. There was two people sitting across the table from each other at 8 o'clock on a Thursday evening, because I was always told people only saw you in the evening, and I learned that to be true, not to be true as well. But there we were sitting across the table from each other, and the prospect knew what I was thinking, and I knew what the prospect was thinking. The prospect was thinking, he, Sandro, needs me more than I need him. And I was thinking, I need them a lot more than they need me. And the problem that I then encountered was the client from that very first meeting was in control of the relationship. And that was the biggest mistake I made in the early part of my career. It is the reason I did not achieve MDRT for the first couple of years, because I allowed the prospect to dictate the terms and conditions of our relationship. Now, let me clarify something. I am not about to talk about how we control the client to the extent that they do things they do not want to do. I'm talking about the fundamentals of all good relationships. Think back to when you were at school. I think back to when I was 13, and there was a girl in my school, her name was Haley, and I thought Haley was the prettiest girl in the school. And I really thought I had a good chance of Haley being my girlfriend. And I would run around the playground after this beautiful girl called Haley, and I learned after a few months that although I liked Haley, Haley didn't like me. And so the relationship didn't work. And that is the fundamental principle of all great relationships. It has to be a two-way thing. So having learned that it was very important for me to understand in my mind that clients need me as a professional more than I need them, it changes the dynamic of the relationship. So when I meet someone for the first time, I want to establish rules. Now, I don't call them rules, I call them reasons for meeting. So I might be meeting with Janice, and I say, "Hi, Janice, thank you so much for seeing me today. Before we begin the meeting today, Janice, I think, if I may, I would just like to share a couple of reasons why I think we're meeting today. Is that okay?" Janice says, "Of course." I say, "Okay, the first reason, Janice, I think we're meeting is for you and I to decide whether we," and we is an incredibly powerful word to be used as often as possible. I think we're here to decide if we like each other, if we can trust each other, and ultimately to see if we can build a long-term relationship together. Does that sound fair? In his mind, he now knows, because I've used the word we, that I get to hire and fire him in exactly the same way that he gets to hire and fire me. Basis of all great human relationships. The second reason I think we're meeting, Janice, is to see whether or not I can help you. Now, at the moment, I don't know whether I can help you or not. But what I'm going to ask, if I may, is some questions. The more information you give me, the better the advice I can give you. Is that okay? Now, what I'm also doing at this moment is I am setting out in very clear terms that the more information he gives me, the better the advice. And let me tell you something about every human being that you ever meet. They do not want quite good advice. They want the best advice. But as we know, people always want everything for nothing. They want the best advice without giving you the information. So by setting this standard, by saying to him, I need lots of information, he doesn't ignore the money he has in the bank, or the extra income stream that he doesn't want to tell me about, or the savings arrangement, or the insurance he has with another company. This is also my opportunity to deal with any objections. Now, every single one of us has experienced objections at some point in our career, and we probably still deal with them every single day. Now, one of the ways to avoid objections is to deal with the objection before it becomes an objection. And because this is my meeting, they are my rules, I've already established the 2 reasons we're meeting, I can now talk about other things that might get in the way. For example, I was a very young advisor when I started, 21. I looked 14. I knew that was a problem. I know that one of the other problems is that many clients question how much commission we get paid. Or maybe they read an article in a newspaper last week that was not very complimentary about financial advisors. If you wait for the objection, it's harder to handle. On the other hand, if you're proactive and you say, and Giannis, just before I start to ask you some questions, let me explain, if we decide to work together, how I will be paid. And the way I get paid is that if we decide to do something together, if there is some financial planning solution that you need for yourself or your family, my insurance carrier will pay me for that work. All the rest of the time, Giannis, I do not get paid. Over the course of what I hope will be 20 to 30 years in our relationship, there will be many occasions I do a lot of work and I get paid nothing. There will be other times, of course, that I do some work and I get paid for that work. But over the course of 20 years, it will average itself out. It will be fair. Is that okay? Does that make sense? Now I'm getting permission from my new client that that is fair. So when I present the solution, the illustration at the second meeting, and he says, wow, you're earning 10,000 euros for this piece of work, you simply say, I am, but remember what I said to you at the first meeting. Over the course of time, it will be fair. The work that I do will be paid and it will benefit you as well financially. Oh yes, I remember. So you have the opportunity, if you approach the first meeting as your meeting, your rules, you can eliminate many of these objections. So the rules at the first meeting are fundamental. These are the foundations to the success you are going to have with your client, not just in terms of sales, if I can use that word, but most importantly, the relationship you build. I go all around the world, I meet many advisors, and I try to share with people one principle. There is a difference between being subservient and being servant-led. I am not discouraging anyone from being servant-led. We should all be servant-led. It is one of the pillars upon which MDRT was built. But that does not mean we should be subservient. We are not there to serve our clients in that way. We must establish the rules very early in the process. The other thing that I used to find was a problem was I would often have a really, really successful first meeting, and then the client would ghost me. We use the word ghost. I'm not sure if you do over here. The basic idea is that you think something's gone really well, and then you don't hear from the client again. They don't return your calls. They don't respond to your emails. And I learned that because of this gap, the space between the first meeting and the second meeting, which was often 2 weeks, the client would forget what we talked about. There was a change of circumstances. They would go and get a second opinion somewhere else. And I would always have to start the second meeting as if it were the first meeting. Start all over again. Then I would have 3 meetings, 4 meetings, 5 meetings. And of course, if we are serious about success in this business, we need to focus on 2 meetings if we can. So I started to produce a meeting report. And the meeting report is really easy. You can get a copy from me if you want it. It is a simple template document, so it takes about 15 to 20 minutes with every client to complete. and it deals with three things. The background information, so that is simply a summary of what they told me. Giannis, you told me you're married, you have 2 children, you live in your own home, you have a mortgage, you work in XYZ company, you earn ABC amount of euros every year. That's basic information. Then I give him the financial objectives. You told me you would like to send your children to private school. You told me you would like to retire 5 years early. So financial objectives. And then the third section is what I call outline observations. These are not recommendations. These are basic financial planning principles that involve making sure your family is protected if you die, making sure you have a will, making sure that you have sufficient savings in place for the future. General principles that get Giannis focused on the things that we will then be talking about at the second meeting. I've found that has led to a huge increase in the amount of business conversion from first to second meeting. Number one, they have a documented evidence of what we discussed, so if they forget, they can read the document. They don't go and get a second opinion, it's a psychological thing, and you start to build a relationship where the client feels like they can appoint you as their advisor. At the second meeting, this is now following the first or fact-find meeting, there are a couple of ideas I would like to share that I think will, particularly if we think about 3 full months now to the end of this year, if you are a little bit behind your target, if you're trying to reach the next level of productivity, then here's a couple of ideas that I think will grow your business exponentially without increasing activity. Why? Because this is a route to achieving success through higher average premium and multiple sales. Again, if I can use that word. I always fear using the word sales, and yet I think we should be very proud of what we do in our business. But unfortunately, sales has now become a swear word for some particular reason. So one thing I'd like to share with you is something I call the magic number. Now, the magic number, if you want to try and close more cases and increase average case size, this is the idea to use. So when you are presenting solutions, most of us will typically, and I'll give you an example, client says to me, I'm thinking about retiring 10 years early. That would be my ideal. And of course, at the first meeting, one of the questions you're going to be asking your client is, Giannis, if anything was possible, what would you like to achieve financially for yourself and your family? Now, the reason I'm asking him this question is I want him to think right brain. I want him to think emotionally, because what people want will always be greater than what they need. So he's now thinking, in an ideal world, even if it's not possible, I would like to retire 10 years early. Okay, we hold that thought, Giannis. I go back at the second meeting. Giannis, we have 3 options. This is my magic number. It's the number 3. I'm going to present 3 solutions. Solution number 1, if you want to retire 10 years early, you need to invest 600 euros a month, for example. If that's not possible, then we could look maybe at retiring 5 years early. That means you need to invest 250 euros a month. And if, like everyone else in Greece, Cyprus and surrounding areas, you want to retire at 65, then we need to invest 100 euros a month. Now, when you present 3 solutions to someone, the way the human mind works is not straight to the one that they want the most. It is to first eliminate the one they want least. You can try this with a small child. Give them 3 ice creams, strawberry, chocolate, vanilla. You can see the process they go through. In that split second, they choose the one they do not like quite as much as the other 2. So I don't quite like chocolate as much as the vanilla and strawberry. Now I'm simplifying my decision-making process. I now have a choice of 2 things. It's what most human beings prefer. Too many choices, and there's lots of scientific research about this. 2 choices means it's an easier choice. So the process of elimination for Giannis in this example, and in 82% of cases, Giannis will eliminate the cheapest one, the one that is the lowest premium, 100 euros in this example. Why? He doesn't want what everyone else has got. So now he's choosing between 250 euros and 600 euros. He's thinking, 600 euros, that's quite painful. I'm not sure I can do that. And when you see someone hesitating, I'd like to do 600, but I'm not quite sure whether that's a little bit too much, I can always bring them back to the middle ground, which in this example is 250. But by presenting 3 solutions, you will find almost all your clients will choose either the second one or the highest premium in almost all cases. And we've all heard of upselling, we know what that is. We've all heard of cross-selling, and I'm sure you take the opportunities to cross-refer other professionals, for example. But the one really powerful area that many advisors miss is something I call downselling. Now, downselling is based on the principle of scarcity. Scarcity is the principle that basically says people in life want what they cannot have. That includes your time, by the way. They want you more when you are less available. So please, 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 even if you're not very busy at the moment, do not let your clients know you are not very busy. If, like me, when I was a young man, I had a completely empty diary, do not say to your new prospect, "Great, thanks for seeing me today. When can I see you next week? Any time is available because I have no people to see." My client's attitude towards me changed in that moment. So I learned that even when I was not very busy, I wanted to create the perception that I was busy because people want what they can't have. So let's go back to Giannis. He's looking at 600 euros a month, but he's feeling uncomfortable about 600 euros. We don't need to be professionals or experienced to know that our prospect is feeling uncomfortable. So I say to Giannis, if I can respectfully suggest, why don't we invest 400 euros a month, and then in 6 months' time, if you're finding that you've got the extra money to invest every month, we can always increase it to £600 a month. It is downselling. It's taking a step away for the prospect to take a step towards us. It's a basic psychology. Once again, I'm not telling you or coaching you to try and get clients to do things they do not want. But if you want to establish trust with someone, don't go for the top premium. Don't push to get your sale. Take a step back. You will always win the extra. You'll always win the extra premium. 6 months later, 3 months later, Giannis will call you and say, "I'm ready. I can invest the extra 200 euros a month." And then we have the magic question. The magic question is the question that we all ask at the second meeting. Now, this is not about the sale. This is about establishing the world-class client experience for the future, because there is a basic principle that in this profession, in any walk of life, people will assess and think about and demand an outcome. We call it an expectation. Everyone has an expectation. What we have to do is to understand what that expectation is, and then we have just one objective, and that is to match or exceed the expectation. Here's the problem. Wherever I go in the world, I see advisors saying to their clients, "Don't worry, Giannis, I'll be back in a year's time to carry out a service review. We will talk about your financial plan, we'll meet, we'll set new goals. I will be back in 12 months' time." Now, Giannis may be very happy with that proposition, but there will be some clients who are not happy with that proposition. For example, someone who feels vulnerable, recently divorced, recently bereaved. They may need their hand-holding a little more than Giannis. So I need to understand what they want. When I understand what they want, I can deliver a proposition that feels unique to them, that feels bespoke. Otherwise, it's just the same as everybody else. So the magic question is, thinking about the future, Giannis, what does an amazing relationship with a financial advisor look like to you? What does an amazing relationship look like? What do you mean, Sandro? Well, how often would you like to see me? How often would you like to hear from me? Now, of course, if he makes demands which are very difficult to deliver, you have to negotiate a little bit. But if he says, well, just for the first year, if you could maybe contact me every 3 months, I'm a first-time investor, I'm a little nervous, no problem. I'm going to get more referred work from Giannis because he feels special, not just one of a number of clients in the business. So don't forget the magic question, because what we have to remember is that our reputation as advisors, if we want to become more referable, in my business, we do no prospecting at all. All of the business that we have coming into our practice is now by referral only, and we do not ask clients for referrals. It happens automatically every single week because we have achieved, I think, this simple equation. And the equation is that our reputation as financial professionals is based on understanding the expectation, so expectation minus the experience we deliver. If we understand the expectation and we match or exceed that expectation, our reputation grows. If it does not, our reputation diminishes and we just become another transactional advisor in Greece or Slovakia or wherever you're from. The second area that I want to talk about today is process. Now, if we want to build amazing relationships where persistency becomes a very important metric in our business, it's 99.6% in my business for one reason. We have a process for everything. Everything. A process from the start of the new relationship right the way through to the service proposition that we agree and build with our clients. Consistency, which is another success principle, breeds trust. So even if you're working alone, make promises you know you can deliver. Do not fall into the trap of saying, "Hi Elaine, great to meet you. Yes, as a new advisor, I don't have many clients. I'm going to come and see you every month, send you a birthday card, call you at Christmas." And we start to produce this big list of all the things that we think will impress our new client Elaine. We are in danger of making promises that at some point when we grow, we will start to break. And when we break a promise, we lose the trust of the client. All of these company logos that you see behind me have achieved great success for one reason only, and it was not because of their product or the price of the product. It was based on one principle, and that principle is to create an amazing experience. You do not need to have been in this business for 35 years to create a great client experience. And there are many ways that you can create good experiences. Let me share just a few very quickly. Number one, I used to spend thousands of pounds, euros, on brochures because everyone else used to produce a lovely brochure, and I would hand my brochure to my new client with pride, and I would say, "Look at my lovely brochure." And they would never read it. It would not make one bit of difference. So what I decided to do was to build a PDF brochure. The PDF brochure goes to my new clients with my terms of business and an introduction to my team, which you'll see in a minute. So already, before the client meets me, they're starting to build a relationship with me and my team. And in that brochure, it tells them just a small amount about my business, but also it includes articles that I've written. And if you haven't written any, I'm sure the company you represent will have some, or you just take articles from the general financial world that may be of interest. But importantly, it also contains testimonials from my happy clients. So already the new client is starting to think they're likable, they're trustworthy, they provide good service, great testimonials, and because of the articles, they are an authority. That's another success principle of authority. Even if you don't know very much, create the perception that you do. And so sometimes if you write an article, someone will automatically assume that you are an expert on your subject. I also want to introduce them to my team. Now, I want to introduce them to my team for one important reason. I want all my clients to know that if they want to make a withdrawal from an investment, for example, they will contact Ellie. If they have a pension review, they will contact Sue. If they have a servicing requirement, they contact Wendy. I do not want them to contact me. Why? Because I am paid for advice. The value of my time is far greater than great respect to the rest of my team. So I do not want to be receiving emails saying, can I make a withdrawal? So introducing my clients very early in the process, and a letter will go from Vicky, my office manager, to the new client, outlining what everybody does, giving them their direct contact information. That then keeps administration away from me. Now, the other thing that I want to do is to make sure that I am not seeing all my clients face-to-face every year or every 6 months. So one of my young advisors, which happens to be my son, Tom, some of you will have met him, one of the ways he starts to build relationships with my clients is to carry out review calls. Now, I do not call them review calls, we call them planning calls. The reason we do not call them review calls is because when you review something, you look backwards in time. This is what we have done. That's no good. Planning meetings get the client looking forwards to future opportunity and the future business that we might do together. So Tom calls these people when you walk into a hospital, for example, and you think you've broken your ankle. The doctor does not see you. The nurse sees you. They assess the problem. If it needs a doctor, they refer you to the doctor. So Tom will call my clients. He will say, let me check. Has anything changed? Have your circumstances altered? Have your objectives changed in any way? And if the answer to any of those questions is yes, and he can't handle that inquiry, he passes it to me. It saves me traveling all around the country, seeing people for nothing more than a cup of coffee. Every single year, Giannis has told me that he would like to see me every 3 months or speak to me every 3 months. But at the end of the first year, I want to send him a questionnaire. Do you still want me to see you every 3 months? Or are you feeling more comfortable now? Because client circumstances change, as do their requirements. So don't forget, every year, check in. Has anything changed? Is there anything we can do for you that would improve the service that we provide? These are all ways of building consistent based relationship. And then probably the most important one of all is building a set of written standards. Now, as my British colleagues will tell you, many years ago, our regulator, God bless them, our regulator set out a list of goals and objectives for advisors. They were very basic. I'm sure they're the same in Greece and other countries. But the basic principles were that, you have to deliver a set of standards. And those would include putting your client's best interests at heart, producing information in a very transparent way, responding to requests in a timely manner. Basic principles that every business person should be adopting. So there was nothing there that was particularly out of the ordinary. But here's the thing. When you make a promise to someone verbally, that's okay. But when you write down a promise, people will always take it more seriously. The written word is always more trusted than the spoken word. So if you have the time, write down a list of standards and deliver those to your new clients. My standards were copied from the regulator. I just took all their information, I put it into a document, and I called it a guaranteed service charter. That was it. But the number of people who say to me, I like working with you because you guarantee things. You know, everything is written down. I know exactly what I'm going to get. Every advisor in the UK is doing the same stuff. But what they see is it in a document. That promise is written down, and it makes a big difference. We also build relationships with other professionals. I do not want to spend my time giving legal advice, tax returns. I want other professionals to benefit from the relationships I have with my clients. I also want them to provide benefit to me by cross-referring. If you build good relationships over time, another principle, I think I've covered 5 now, is the principle of reciprocation. Most people will give what they receive. So don't ignore the opportunity to build other relationships. And let me tell you something. People will not do business with you if they cannot see you. We all think that we want to be successful, but we have no social media presence, we don't prospect regularly, we don't have regular conversations about what we do. It is little wonder that we do not achieve the success we want to achieve for ourselves, because people can't see us. So one of the things that we did, we produced a really thick laminated card. On one side of the card, all of the service we provided to families, and on the other side, the services we provide to businesses. And we give them to all our professional partners. It is thick because if it's thick, they can't tear it up and throw it in the trash. They have to put it on their desk. There's nowhere else to put it. And when they see my details every single morning, and someone comes into their office and asks about financial planning, I get the referral. So be visible. That's another very important thing. And then periodically, we remind our clients of the need for referrals in our business. It sits in a lovely folder that we give to our clients. This is not something we do proactively. It's just a visual reminder that we work by referral. The reason I've put the question mark behind the word referral is I do not want referrals. I want personal introductions. A referral is a telephone number and a name. That means I'm about to make a cold call. I want a personal introduction. A name, a telephone number, and an introduction. Elaine, meet Kath. Kath, meet Giannis. Let me tell you about each other. That's a personal introduction. So when someone refers you, just ask them for one more thing. Name, telephone number, thank you very much. Can you also introduce me? That's a personal introduction, and it's very, very different from a referral. Last thing before I close up. Going all the way back to what I said at the start of my presentation, they need us a lot more than we need them, and that is a mindset I would ask you to adopt in the 3 months to the end of this year and moving forward. That is not arrogance, by the way, that is confidence. They need us more than we need them. Think about our profession. We change people's lives. We should be proud and honored to serve our clients and our communities. We should not be there sitting thinking, please will you do business with me? If they don't want to do business, if they want to think about it, if they don't respond to my emails, if they don't show up at a meeting, I need to walk away, and that is painful. It's uncomfortable. I've got nothing else in my diary. I'm struggling to meet my targets, but I have to have the discipline to be prepared to walk away. Otherwise, I betray my desire to be more successful because clients will dictate my success, not the other way around. So when someone says, sorry, I can't meet you again, and it's the 3rd time they've cancelled a meeting, or they don't respond to my request for a second meeting, or they decline the opportunity for me to carry out a review with them or a planning meeting, I write them a note. Email is fine, and it simply says, Dear Giannis, we've tried a few times to meet. For whatever reason, you are not available, and that's absolutely fine. What I'm going to do, if I may, is close the file. Now, those 3 words, close the file, feels really uncomfortable for a client. If he thinks you're going to close his file, which doesn't really mean much other than I'm not going to bother with you anymore, close the file feels so painful for a prospect. 7 times out of 10, he will contact you. I'm sorry, I've been really busy, I've been distracted. And when he does business with you, he never misbehaves in the future. He never messes you around because he knows you're in charge. You have the power to hire and fire exactly as he has the power to hire and fire us. Final word of advice, if I may. The best piece of advice I can give you today, and thank you for spending the time with me, you've got lots of amazing speakers to come. I would like you to think about 2 very important words as you think about the last 3 months of this year and beyond. They are the words process and outcome. When I started in this business, I was told I was successful when I made a sale or when I got a referral. Let me tell you something. That does not determine success. The successful people in this room, and I can point to every single one of them, focus on the process. If you focus on the process, having conversations with people, telling them with passion and enthusiasm and commitment what you do, if you believe that and you have those conversations regularly, the outcome will always take care of itself. I guarantee it. So focus on the process. The outcome will always take care of yourself. You are all amazing. You are all brilliant. The world is at your feet. Thank you for sharing the time. Have a great couple of days. Thank you so much.